In the remote valleys of northern Idaho sits a picturesque town. On any given afternoon, you will see children riding bikes, cars passing by, and neighbors talking on the sidewalk. It is entirely aggressively normal. But this animated counter illustrates a statistical impossibility that occurs there every single evening. At exactly 7:14 p.m., the town's population drops from 3,812, plummeting straight to zero. For exactly 60 seconds, every resident vanishes. In the fall of 2025, a journalist named Daniel Brooks decided to investigate. He had received dozens of anonymous emails from the area, all containing the exact same instruction: come before 7:14 p.m., leave before 7:15. Assuming it was an elaborate internet prank, Daniel arrived in town. He observed an old diner, a gas station, and a church. Everything pointed to a quiet, mundane community. Then he walked into the diner and asked a waitress what happens at 7:14. She dropped her coffee pot. The entire room went completely silent. No one would answer him. The residents were locked in a shared, terrified silence. If Daniel wanted to know what occupied that missing minute, he would have to capture the event himself. This top-down schematic maps out the surveillance trap Daniel set up at the local motel. He triangulated 3 cameras, one on the roof, one facing the street, and one pointing out his window. He completely ignored the handwritten note the motel owner had handed him, which warned him not to look outside. At 7:14 p.m., the local church bell rang 3 times. Then, the ambient noise of the town stopped. No birds, no cars, no wind. Daniel looked out his window. The street was entirely empty. Vehicles sat abandoned in the road, and dropped bicycles spun quietly on the pavement. A shadow entered the far end of the street. It was an 8-foot-tall, impossibly thin entity. It didn't walk. It simply slid, smoothly, across the asphalt. At exactly 7:15, the town reappeared. Drivers finished their sentences. Children continued pedaling. Not a single resident reacted or remembered the lost 60 seconds. The phenomenon operates as a precise, localized physical reset. Whatever occupies that minute functions completely outside of normal human perception. Back in his room, Daniel checked his trap. Across all 3 devices, exactly 60 seconds of footage had corrupted, but he found a single surviving frame. The faceless, smooth-skinned entity was standing in the middle of the road, staring directly into the lens of the window camera. The town's retired sheriff finally agreed to speak, describing a night 40 years ago when he and his partner ignored the warnings. They watched the street at 7:14 and survived the minute, but 3 days later, his partner vanished from a locked house without a trace. This suggests that looking at the entity doesn't cause immediate harm, but initiates a delayed process. Digging into the town archives, Daniel found a consistent pattern of permanent disappearances stretching back over a century. The oldest record dated back to 1891. The victim's final written entry was a simple, chilling sentence: "It counted me." Observing the anomaly transitions a person from a bystander into a target. Looking out that window had placed Daniel on a delayed countdown to deletion. Daniel stayed one more night. He locked the doors, covered the windows, and waited for the 7:14 silence to fall over the motel. Then came 3 slow, heavy knocks. They started at the exterior door, stopped, and then echoed directly from inside Daniel's own bathroom. He escaped the next morning. Back in Seattle, surrounded by the density of the city, he believed he had successfully outrun the localized threat. But he decided to review the audio recorder he had kept in his pocket during the event. Through the static of the missing minute, a voice whispered right next to the microphone: 9,412. This diagram connects that whispered number to the town's official census records. At the time of Daniel's visit, the population was exactly 9,413. The whisper wasn't a random sequence of digits. By stating a number exactly 1 lower than the local population, the voice had identified a single resident as the remainder. To the entity, the town functions as a ledger that must stay balanced. 1 year later, the United States government published its updated demographic data for the region. This stark line graph shows the town's population dropping to exactly 9,412. Local authorities recorded 0 deaths, 0 relocations, and 0 missing persons reports during that period. Meanwhile, back in Seattle, Daniel faces a new daily reality. Every evening at exactly 7:14 p.m., his cell phone completely loses its signal. When the service returns 60 seconds later, his inbox has a new voicemail. There are no words, only slow breathing and a voice quietly counting upward. Some mysteries are entirely parasitic. The simple act of observing the anomaly guarantees you become a permanent part of its equation.